made a presentation. I know you made the presentation as well, so maybe we can go quickly to our presentations or just share the practice a little bit. If you can like pop it up on the screen, I'm happy to like share a little bit about my practice. So I'm an art curator and culture producer at the gallery I mentioned, Vellum LA. It's a women-led NFT gallery, and basically our mission is actually empower the artists, showcase women, non-binary queer artists at the first place. And I think I'm just gonna go really quick how I got into NFTs. So this is the gallery. We have usually panels and just like trying to invite artists to the conversation. You're very welcome to join too.
I would love to, yeah. I'm watching over here. Very cool.
So we also giving artists their exposure on the billboards around Los Angeles, and we partner with a new technology company called Luma Canvas that was designed specifically for NFT, so artists basically can like show their art as it is. But before that, I just want to jump really quick into what brought me into NFT. And I was working, I was like a part of collective, and we were doing a lot of speculative projects, kind of crazy stuff, so I think it's better to show a little intro. I don't know if it will play, yeah, but it will. So basically we were designing the virtual world and the metaverse before it became a thing, before metaverse became a scary thing. But the main problem, I guess, was that working on that with the artists, we never were able to getting paid. We were just like doing things for fun or like for portfolio, for social capital, for anything but money, because like buying digital files was such a like weird thing for everybody. And speaking of PFPs, we also were designing the characters with the artists and giving those characters personalities. For example, Wednesday Kim is a South Korean artist, and she designed the character who is part mother, part daughter in the body of a snail. So it was like kind of like a weird, crazy things, and I think I'll show you this video that you might like. I don't know if we can have sound here, can we? Yeah, so basically, none of this work was sold before NFT. Let's see if we can get the sound. Do you hear anything? You cannot. Anyway, I'll tell you what's going on here. So there is a tardigrade who is like coming to spa, and it's like the whole like crazy project we were designing with the artist before NFT came. So for this specific conference, I kind of got nerdy, and I reached out to the artists I ever worked with, and I asked them like, how do you think NFT empower or disempower you? And all of them like gave me the answers, so I'm just gonna go briefly. Most of them said that
I love Paola, but I've worked with her before.
Really?
It's amazing, yeah.
Paola is Italian, incredible.
Sardinia.
Yeah. Artist, yeah, here's everything animated here. So all of the artists like came positive about NFTs, that is like basically NFTs gave them the idea of like doing things. And I think Alica Scope, I don't know if you know this artist, she is a great artist, also woman of color, and she said there is a lot of exploitation and flat of abuse of the artists in traditional art world. So NFT gave her the ability to actually speak up against that. Anyway, here's also Brazilian artist who said that it would be great if collectors would actually appreciate experimental projects and like more authentic projects more than like the brand and corporate side of the project. So that was really interesting. And the last artist I asked, Stacy, and she said like absolutely positive that NFT basically gave her the ability to sell all of her art and not just jumping into commercial projects. But before we will jump to your practice, I think the main thing that I want to talk about is what is actually disempowering the artist. Because if you would know what is disempowering the artist, we simply can just not do it, right? As a collectors, as a DAOs, as just like art appreciators, because like all the panels I've been so far, how to empower the artist, how NFT will empower the artist, how like everything gonna be great, but we should think about what is actually disempowering the artist, and I wonder to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think in the past, artists always had an art agent or an art dealer, somebody that was actually running all the marketing sites so the artist itself could just focus on creating. That has changed because, first of all, there's a competition. First of all, there is so much art. There's only so many little galleries. That this empowering part of it is, it's I as an artist, when I just had enough passion and love to it. I just said, I don't do whatever it takes. So you really have that mindset. It's not as easy as it sounds like. So I had to become the marketer myself, the agent of myself, the self-funder of myself. I had to do everything myself, but I believe when you stay consistent at something and thinking would blow up, it will pay off. So they talk about this whole starving artist, or like, you know, it's hard. This empowering part of it is that. But the reality is we have so much tool right now. We have so much, you know, the internet, the gallery. You can create your own gallery website right there, and then the NFT world and all of that. You have so much option to start actually share your work, but there's a lot of work to put it together. You got to focus on marketing. You get, you know, creating. All the back end part of it, the front end part of it. So that's the part that just feels a little overwhelming. That's what's come to me. And I have a lot of artists that ask me, how did you make this happen? What do you do? The only thing I said, you just jump in and, you know, you don't look back. You just do whatever it takes to get there. It is rewarding, but there are nights that you don't sleep. You just make sure you just move forward.
It's a really good question, and I think a great answer as well, because you know, so many artists now are focusing on the business side of things, and I find that, you know, maybe they're not creating as much as they used to or they'd like to be doing. I definitely feel that myself personally, so I think that is a very interesting answer to the question, because, you know, we're focused now on how do we promote it, how do we get it out there, because we see these sales, right, going through the roof. So when you see that, you're like, okay, how can I get there? And so you start to lose that sense of, I just want to create something pure and as artistic and creative as I can.
Cool. I actually also, when I was like preparing for this panel and presentation, I was thinking about what is disempowering the artist, and the story that I told before, how collectors and DAOs, like, not even like asking artists that they're showcasing their work, and I come up with simply 3 points that I think would empower artists actually really well. And if we can quickly come back to the presentation, I have this slide that's kind of important. Cool, thank you. So let's see if that's gonna work. It's not. Oh, it's great. Anyway, and the latest. So collectors should respect the authorship of the work they collected. Then the gallery should never take, ever again, commission of 50% or more from the artist, and they should find their other way to operate. And I'm saying that because, like, as a part of the gallery, we never took from the artist 50%, from what I know. It's just like something that should stop. And then the third thing is kind of cut up, but actually curators should support artists' transition into the NFT space and emerging technology, and basically help them to move that.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Great presentation, thank you for sharing.
Thank you, I was like, whatever, I'm just doing that.
I love it, very nice.
Do you have something you would love to like expand on?
Sure, yeah, so we actually have a booth here. I'm Alec, by the way, I don't know if I ever introduced myself. Alec Joseph with Conscious Cups, and it's a utility-focused NFT is what we've been creating. So it actually was incepted by an animation that I made about 8 months ago now, which follows the story of this coffee cup humanoid that travels across the ocean. It was based on the Odyssey. And so we created this animation, and you know, so many of my close friends were like, you know, you got to get into NFTs, you got to get into NFTs. And I was like, okay, you know, let me see what's going on here. And you know, for me, the biggest thing was, it's really cool that, like, you know, people are buying artwork, and I think that's amazing. But the thing that I kept hearing is, people were upset with the fact that they're not getting utility from it as well. So I've been thinking a lot. I had been thinking a lot, about what is utility that I can do with this. So because it is this coffee cup, we decided, let's do a real life utility coffee. And so we started about 6 months ago, talking with different coffee farms all around the world. Now to date, we are partnered with a coffee farm in Ethiopia, in El Salvador, in Indonesia, and so Conscious Cups is now expanding actually beyond just coffee. We are doing matcha, kombucha, kratom, basically any beverage that you can fit into a cup.
They're all coming after all.
Yeah, and so we'd love for you guys to try our coffee, and we're doing matcha and maca, which is this wheat gas beverage. We'd love for you to, and yerba mate. But it's a very different approach for me as an artist, because my background is in music and animation. So now to be doing this more business side of things, where I'm talking with travel partners to do travel experiences to coffee farms. I'm talking to people to code different things into smart contracts. It's very different, but it's definitely allowing I think my personal development and growth as a thinker, and I think that is something super powerful in this space for an artist to see things in lots of different ways. So I'm super happy with how things are going with Conscious Cups, and would love for you guys to all try it. It's been a really cool ride. We've been doing a lot of different events in Miami and New York and Austin. I'm happy to be here in LA because this is my home base now. I live in Venice. So yeah, thank you for the time, everyone. And your presentation was amazing earlier as well.
Thank you. Is it okay we can put that ad that we have it for 205? Just gonna play that short and sweet. You see, a lot of us are very concerned about all the global war that is happening. We see it in the news. Some of us have experienced it. I was 6 years old. I saw it in front of my eyes. Now the global warming, the pandemic, all the big issues that's happening, and what I had the opportunity to do is create art to inspire global peace. I don't think this is it. This is not it.
Pretty cool though.
Yeah, it looks good. That's most right. It's for booth 205. So I've been in this journey of creating a collection of artworks made of 2000 is a symbol of this millennium. And when you put them together, it turns to a big giant painting of a peace painting, as big as a 17-story building. The booth is actually right here on the front. The banner, you can kind of see it. When you collect or support, you're part of this vision. And we have released the NFTs. Out of each of the 2000 paintings, there is one version of NFTs. And we were in a PNFT stage about 8 months ago, and right now, today is our NFT drop. Today is our NFT drop. And you guys are welcome to come and have an experience about it. The whole message is about when we come together, we can recognize that we are all connected, that there is no reason to go to war. There's no reason. There was a time in history, as we know, even family member, but right now, violence is not acceptable. So from country version, from that bigger perspective, it's just not acceptable. Or we need to evolve, we need to mature enough. And this vision, this art, it's a vision of unity and peace. And I believe this is going to be one of the front runners because it's so big. 19 years in the making. And it's going to share that message and inspire our future generation that through oneness we can experience peace. And that's in a short nutshell. You're welcome to come in booth 205 and take a look at it. The ad, I guess, is not there.
Just a quick question.
It's coming.
About the idea of, all of this, right? The decentralization. bringing the world together. How do you think that affects this idea of global wars happening?
We already seeing the signs already there. The internet is a great indication that how connected we are. Literally right now, if I want to talk to someone in South Africa, I can do it with a little device which is called my phone. So those little signs are already there. We are moving from informational stage, in my honest opinion, to a transformational stage. There is some kind of transformation is happening. So we are spiritually maturing. We are recognizing that there is something else, that is conducting.
I love that. I think that it would be silly of us to assume just because we're now connecting, war goes away. But the knowledge that we're getting, we're learning about people all around the world, so we're able to understand other people better and appreciate and communicate.
Absolutely.
And so perhaps we are reaching a place where we can, be united on knowledge.
Well, I tell you what, I grew up in Sweden. I saw discrimination in my time. Like they were looking at skin color, and I experienced that. I talked to little kids; they don't know even what black and white is. They don't know, what do you mean? What does that mean? Well, gay? What is it? They're a human being. So we are evolving. Over 150 years ago, there was slavery right here in this country. And imagine that you went in that time and just talked to somebody, said, hey, one day in this country, there will be no more slavery.
Yeah.
So this millennium, with a click of a button, we can destroy the entire planet. But there is the grassroots level. We all, 80% of us are for it, want that, wanted to see it. And everybody wants happiness, prosperity, love, and peace. Peace is something that everybody wants.
Yeah.
That's not only is an inside job, but it is an outside job. And these NFTs that we have created from this art as a byproduct represent that. And I had no idea how powerful this NFT is going to be, especially because it's a property rights. It is a digital format of it, and it can create value. It has business part of it, because when there is something that is, I hate to use that word, but is profitable, people will start actually paying attention to it. So I noticed that anybody, I feel like in the NFT world, we all in the gold rush of California back 100 years ago. We are in the wild, wild west right now, and there is no regulations. There's a lot going on, or maybe in the beginning of in the 90s when internet was just kind of nobody know what is a domain name. Like McDonald's, for example, said, why should I get McDonald.com? Back then, it doesn't make sense, but right now it totally makes sense. And NFT seems to be really, really in the beginning stage.
Yeah.
And these digital properties that can be like a pink slip of a car tomorrow, or like it could be a password tomorrow, because the blockchain is the one that authenticates it. So that's kind of what I see. I don't know what the future is, but as the art world, as an artist, it seems that we have an opportunity to be the front runner, to basically open this roadmap. And you can look at everybody who have done the research. We can see this is going to be over hundreds of trillions dollar industry as this is just moving forward to that.
Cool. I think this is kind of like good ending for like the panel. Do we have the 205?
And are we allowed to answer any questions from the audience?
Yeah,
if anybody has any questions?
Oh, the mic is coming.
First, thank you guys so much. That was so awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Yeah, my question, Alec, I know that you mentioned briefly about conscious cups, and I am so interested. So if I want to kind of, I guess I'm a little confused as to kind of how I can support you guys and engage. Like, do you have social media, and how else do, like I guess if I'm very interested, how can I then, okay, should I buy tokens, and Are there certain, yeah, I guess I'm just a little confused as to how I can engage more. If you could speak a little bit on that.
Thank you. Yeah, so we do have social media. We're actually making lots of funny content on there. We had the costume designer from Star Wars create these like cup heads. So you can see them at our booth. We've been walking around asking people on the street, what does NFT stand for? And people are like,
I took a couple notes.
I was about to say a curse word with the F, but no, whatever. But yes, we make lots of funny content on there. But then in terms of the project as an overall, it is a community-focused thing. So all different conscious activities, both in the metaverse as well as in real life. So I don't know if you guys do your daily Calm on the Calm app, but think about things like that. Think about going to yoga classes. Conscious Cups gives you discounts as well as free access to a variety of different wellness or integrated activities and products as well, beverages. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions out here?
I thought the point on licensing earlier was pretty interesting. I guess this is a question for the entire panel. I was wondering what kind of licenses are common right now, and what kind of license, or how should artists decide on which licenses to use? And then, what would embedding the license into the artwork, into an NFT, technically look like? You guys have any thoughts on it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, from what I've seen and spoken with different attorneys on specifically, is this idea of, licensing is okay. However, there should never be the ability for people to do hate speech or pornography or things that would not be okay. So I think that it's okay to license your product out because I like you said, or you were alluding to with the idea of a royalty there. I think it's a very interesting opportunity for artists to put their work out there, and then I would think about it like this: an artist created something, and then now other people can add on to that canvas. And I think that is a really cool idea, both whether it's in a business-oriented thing or whether it is art-focused. So I think the idea of licensing your work out is very cool and very fun and interesting, but I can understand at the same time how it can make some people uncomfortable and perhaps not want to pursue it.
Well, I think it's also the topic of authorship connected also to licensing, so we have to start from that somehow. I don't know. I think they got the...
Yeah, and to answer that idea of where does it, get communicated, what you can do with it, there are definitely white papers and those kind of things that you can put on your site that make it very clear that if you're purchasing this NFT, here's what you're able to do with it.
What I would recommend, I learned it from the hard way, anything that you sign, review it with your attorney. Always have them to review it.
I like that.
Do we have any more questions from the audience?
Cool, we've got the...
That's cool.
yeah, let's do 205 here.
All right, so let's broadcast this from the beginning, if possible, and then let's just put it on the show. So one painting, double-sided. That's the front side, 42 by 42. Put it together, it turns to peace painting. And from the back side, that's a piece of Earth, infinite love covering planet Earth. Our goal is to actually build this monolith. We call this Vision of Unity and Peace centers. Inside of it is going to be all those activities, aligned with the message. Our next step is actually going to do the walkthrough, that actually we're going to put it on the ground, and then we can actually have people experience of it. Every one of these images, there's about NFT version of each of those paintings. We have the Dev collection as a separate collection, and that kind of make it short and sweet to the point.
Cool, thank you. Anyway, so welcome to booth 205. Booth, what is yours?
We're 639. We're right over here.
639
Conscious
and
Cups, right around the corner.
Malay and Melrose. Thank you so much.
I think we had one more question.
Yeah, we do have a guest.
Okay.
Thank you. Earlier in the discussion, the topic of royalties came up, and the panelists on the right, my apologies for your name.
Alice.
Alice, thank you. You mentioned that royalties for artists have been around for a few decades. I'm just curious, how did that work? I'm not really an artist myself. I'm not a painter. But what was the process for artists over the past 5 or so decades, you mentioned, in order to receive those royalties? What does that process look like, and how does that compare to what's possible through smart contracts and NFTs?
Thank you. I think there are definitely more things possible for smart contracts than it was before. But basically, it was working in a very analog way when the contract between collector and the artist said that any time the work is resold, it was 10% usually. It was never like 50% like somebody can set up right now, or like 40. It was like 10% mostly when like the artist is getting paid when the work is getting resold. So it was like analog, but it existed still.
So that tradition has existed in a manual way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I think the idea of royalties is really interesting to discover, but we have to, a lot of people who are entering NFT space, not a lot of them like actually have like art degree in art, or like, you know, like art history background. But I think we should like learn more from actually traditional art world to like not repeat or take the best practices and bring it to NFT space. And as I mentioned earlier, it's just like, it was such a classic practice that gallery would charge the artist 50%, and the artist would like make the work, like for example, some artists like making the work for like 6 months, and then this is the only income they have. Like when they're selling just like 3 paintings, and the gallery would charge the artist 50%, doesn't matter what. So I think in NFT space that should change, and it's changing. And I think the galleries, like I'm from the gallery world, so it's easy for me to speak, that the gallerists, collectors, they should like reapproach their behavior towards artists and like never charge them 50% ever again. And just find different ways. There are like a lot of ways, sponsorship, like selling art, like anything, but like not taking from the artist. Thank you.
I think I'll just leave it on this note of like how thankful I am for NFTs to give artists all around the world the opportunity to get their work heard. I think this is a revolution. My friend likes to say, art is the new religion. And I think that is a very interesting phrase right there, because you find more and more young people are not, going to churches and temples and these things. They're making art, and they're following their favorite artists and influencers. And so I just wanted to share that thought there, because I think that phrase, art is the new religion, is a really powerful idea.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Yes, please give them a round of applause. That was